Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of BCB. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me today is Colin Mitchell. Colin, we have a very interesting point guard matchup here with Kasparas Jakucionis and Jeremiah Fears. Two players that, we've done verses where they're very different. Like feels very similar to me, at least on the surface of like players that get to the rim that are like streaky shooters, but are really good playmakers, high usage players, dominated the ball at their respective schools. Jakucionis at Illinois, Fears at Oklahoma, both slotted somewhere in the 10 to 15 range in most mocks, you'd say. Uh,
Mhm.
do you have a strong lean one way or the other? Because I don't. I have them very, very close to me.
I think there's a clear who could be better, but I don't think in terms of floor there's a very
Yeah,
they're hard to separate from you in terms of floor.
yeah. I have Kasparas just an inch higher on my
Really?
board. I do, and
I
there's
have
a
Fears,
couple
okay.
reasons here, and I feel good about it. It's not like I'm wavering here. I think I'm gonna stick with it as we continue our evaluations over the next month. Um, for starters, I think Kasparas, and I went back just to make sure I wasn't getting Jalen Hood-Schifino'd again with both these guys, uh, because
That's funny.
it wasn't a bad miss, but I had him in my teens. He got drafted at, 2021? So, no,
Yeah.
18. He got drafted 18. So, the Lakers got, I got. We all got by Jalen Hood-Schifino. But,
Love the floater.
yeah, mid-range, jumper, pick and rolls, all that stuff. But this is a guy who I think it's underrated how much he gets to the rim and gets fouled. Like at 6'5", at 19 years old, Kasparas was actually really, really good at getting to the basket and finishing. He finished 62% at the rim in the half court with 0 dunks. And I just thought he was really creative, had good burst at times, obviously out of ball screens, was able to attack, had a really high free throw rate, 49.6. So I just feel like that's kind of the difference here for me is I am, and Fears can get to the basket as well at times, but I think Jakucionis overall gets to the rim a little bit better, is obviously a little taller, and just a little bit more capable in that aspect of it. I trust him more like at the next level to be like, all right, he's going to, I think, get to the rim just a bit more. Fears has to work for it a little bit more.
I actually disagree with getting to the rim. I think Jeremiah Fears gets to the rim better. I mean, his rim pressure number, he had I don't remember if I wrote it down. Now he needs to finish better at the rim. But I think his rim pressure
Yes.
is a lot higher than what
He didn't
Kaspar's.
finish well at the rim
He did not finish well at the rim
much.
at all. Now, and to your point, like you said, Kaspar's had 62% you said at the rim in the half court, and then basically 50% free throw rate. Whereas
Yeah.
when you look at Jeremiah Fears, he's only 46.3% at the rim, but he does have that free throw rate of 52%.
Yeah.
So the finishing is where it becomes a problem for Jeremiah Fears, and I'll touch on that here in a second. But to your point about Kasparas, yeah, no, I like a lot of stuff about him. I feel like he's underrated, not only in him getting to the rim, but also just in terms of kind of how we looked at Dylan Harper. Obviously, he's not the passer or have control like Dylan Harper does, but you kind of see it. You kind of see the control that he has because he's able to get to the rim, garner pressure, and kind of facilitate. Now he does do things where he can get stuck. I feel like he's kind of if he's between 6 and 10 feet away from the rim, I think he can kind of lose it a little bit.
Yeah.
But outside of that, especially on the perimeter, I really like him as a passer.
Yeah, let's talk about them as passers here. This is where it gets interesting to me. Kasparas had a 26.2 assist rate. Do I have Jeremiah Fears? It was the highest he had the highest usage rate in the SEC and the 5th highest assist rate.
Yeah, assist rate was 28.6 and usage rate was 31.5.
Yeah, so Fears obviously dominated the ball, was very, very effective. Again, was not on a great team. Kasparas was on a better team at Illinois than what Fears was at Oklahoma. That has to matter a little bit. Both of them can make really high reads. Both of them, like I said, with the ability to get to the basket, make the simple plays really well, which I like. Both also have their turnover problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kasparas is at 3.7 turnovers per game. Fears is at 3.4. So this is why it was so hard to separate the two, because I think they do a lot of things really well between them, but also their shortcomings are very clear. Like you said, the in-between game is something that's interesting to me. I think that actually leans Fears. If we
Yeah.
look at like the mid-range and the pull-up J area, I think it was 50% on runners and 43% on mid-range jumpers for Fears, which is, compared to a lot of prospects, that's actually really, really good numbers. So it's interesting. I don't know, like, in terms of passing, who I'd give the edge to, but I will say for Kasparas, again, I lean this way because he's a little taller. Like, he can kind of hit some of those like skip
Skip
passes and hook
passes. Yeah.
passes that are just really high level because he's a little taller and has a little bit more length to him.
Yeah. For Fears, I actually think that Fears is a better playmaker because he's able to attract so much defense with how fast he is. And
Mhm.
not only that, he's able to use his athleticism. Now it will become a problem if he's not able to finish at the rim, because obviously that's going to decide whether or not he has two guys come down on him in the paint and where he can kind of kick the ball out. But I actually think that his skip passes, especially to the corner, I like a lot of the pick and roll for Fears, because instead of hitting the roll man, he hits that corner and it gets a three. Kasparas, I actually this is why what I didn't like as much, which is why I'm leaning Fears, is just still that thing where he kind of gets stuck or can kind of do a little too much in that
Mhm.
when he gets close to the basket. So right off a pick and roll, I like you said, that skip pass that he likes to do. But when he gets too crowded, it's when every kind of panics a little bit, and then he either tries to go put up a tough shot or turns the ball over. Now I'm not saying Fears is not prone to that,
Yeah.
but but I definitely think I saw a little bit more with Casper's for me.
The Fears' speed is also
Yeah.
something that he has in his favor here. Like, that is, again, if you're betting on the physical trait side of it, even though Fears is shorter, that change of pace, the speed in the open court, if Fears hits like his potential as a transition player, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
Then Jeremiah will actually be a starting guard that can put pressure on teams at every single level. And it's going to be interesting to see how teams adjust off like the Pacers making this run. Like, are we going to see this influx of like even more pace in the NBA where teams just really try to run, and then Fears is going to be really comfortable. Kasparas maybe has to be a little bit more half court centric.
Hmm.
But I do think in the half court, I do trust him to be able to make a lot of those passes and make a lot of the plays there. So um, it's interesting comparing these two because as shooters, because honestly, they have similar numbers here.
Yeah.
Kasparas was 32% from three. Fears was 29% from three. Both of the catch and shoots. I think Fears actually had higher catch and shoot number.
I don't have catch and
I
shoot
have it
numbers
as
written down.
36% for Fears catch and shoot. It was off the dribble where he was horrendous.
Yeah. It was really
36%
bad.
catch and shoot on like 70 attempts, I think it was. And Kasparas was 35% on catch and shoot. So very close there.
Yeah.
Both have fine form, I would say. I don't think I can place a bet on which one I think is going to be the better shooter at this point, but that is obviously a swing skill, right? Like, if you're coming off a ball screen, and this is why I was hesitant. I have Fears a tick lower as well. There's just so many question marks that he does have to answer. He does have to answer the finishing question. And then off the dribble shooting, he has to be able to come off screens. He has to be able to isolate and just pull at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And I do think Kasparas is a little bit better off the dribble right now. So there's a little bit more projecting with Fears right at this moment, but I'm not saying he can't get there. He is very, very talented and will put pressure on teams, but that is another aspect where as shooters, both of them are good, or I mean, could be good, but off the dribble, Fears has a way, way more ground to cover in that aspect.
Yeah. Fears 20.5% on off the dribble threes.
Yeah.
Just so to throw that number in there. And yeah, I completely agree. Kasparas, I think, projects as a much better shooter, especially just because he does kind of like that step back. He's able to he doesn't have the in between game, but he's not afraid of the mid range jumper, and wasn't bad at it. 37% from the mid range. So I definitely see that, and especially because I think Kasparas can play off the ball more. because of his
That's where I
size,
was going next.
because
I
of his
think there's
size.
a understanding a little bit more. Fears seems like and this is not a shot, but he is definitely the type that has had the ball in his hands since he was 8 years old and just been faster than everybody and better than
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
And I believe he reclassed up into this
Yes.
class, which is why
Yeah,
he's
he did.
so young. But like he's just been so good for so long. Like he has had the ball in his hands forever. And he is going to be good enough to where he still has the ball in his hands at the NBA level, but like that's going to be an interesting if he plays with a really good wing, let's say, or a really good post or something like that. Playing off the ball is going to be interesting. I do think Kasparas. That was the other reason why I did have him a smidge over Fears in my little write up at the bottom. Is like also more capable as an off ball player,
Yeah.
because also we can rebound low key. Like I know the rebounding
Mhm.
numbers aren't crazy different. Kasparas was 5.7, Fears was 4.1, but like Kasparas will go and get the ball.
Yeah.
And that is encouraging, like cutting, rebounding, those small things I give an edge to for Kasparas as well.
Yeah, and you're kind of swaying me here because after
So no,
talking about
well, I think you made your point initially was like
yeah.
if we take a
I came
Fears
in
it's on, I
saying
think Fears has the upside here.
yeah, I think you look at Fears and you go, "Oh, like he could be like a star." But then when you look at Kasparas, you see a more tame. Like for Kasparas, we don't need to get in comps right now, but like I see like a very good, like very very good third option is what I see like as a peak. Whereas with Fears, it's obviously a lot harder to get there because of his shooting concerns and is kind of in likes to try a lot of crazy stuff. But I see star power with him, whereas Kasparas, I see more of a tame. He could be really really good.
Can I
So
throw out a like super best case scenario for Jeremiah Fears where it's
sure.
like I could maybe see it in some world? I could see like a Tyrese Maxey.
Mm,
Like
that's a good point. Yeah.
Maxey came in and wasn't like a great shooter coming out of Kentucky. Like we believed in him. But we were high on Tyrese Maxey. Like I feel similar about Fears in terms of, and obviously Maxey was projected like in the 30s and we had him at like 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Fears is projected 10 and I still have him at like 15 or something like that. So I'm at a similar place with them. It's just a different starting point. Um, but I do think that's like if we're talking ceiling, it wouldn't shock me at all if he hit that ceiling.
Yeah.
But there's so many question marks here. The shooting, the finishing. I think both like we haven't even talked about the defense for the two of them because I think
Yeah.
it's kind of a wash. I don't think either one is ever going to be a dynamic defender.
I actually disagree. I think Jeremiah Fears is worse off than
I do
Casper
think he is
just
worse.
off his size alone. I
Yeah,
think he's gonna have to try. I mean, anybody who's 6'4", 6'3" in that range is going to have, and not super long, is going to have trouble even if they are a good perimeter defender. I mean, you see that with tons of defenders that come out of the NBA, especially the Houston guys like Marcus Sasser. Like,
yeah,
he's not getting play time because of his size alone, despite him being able to shoot the ball. So, um, yeah, it's going to be a problem for Jeremiah Fears for sure on defense. Whereas a Kasparas, he's 6'5" and he's able to. He's not going to be as much as a liability.
yeah. That's going to be interesting. It's where Kasparas has the higher floor, Fierce has the higher upside. And I'm glad we talked this through because this is where I needed to figure this out. I still have Kasparas higher on my board. Again, very, very small margins here as we continue to sort it out. But like, if Fears ended up being the better prospect, I wouldn't be shocked,
Yeah.
like at
What are your
all.
comps? You already mentioned Tyrese Max. Did you have that
I
written
did
down?
write
Or?
down Maxi just as I put hopefully Tyrese Maxi. Like that's my way of saying ceiling.
Yeah.
Um, but I did for Jeremiah Fears, I wrote down Isaiah Collier and Colin Sexton.
Isaiah Collier is tough.
Isaiah Collier had a good season as a rookie. Shout out to Collier.
I have Jamal Murray written down as a ceiling.
I don't hate it.
And then Jordan Poole for
Who's
Fears, by the way. So yeah, that type of thing. And then I think floor would be obviously bench guard just because he's not able to figure out the shooting or the defense. For Kasparas, I have I guess kind of stereotypical comps, Austin Reeves and Pods. So those are the two comps I have just because of that ability to play off ball.
Well, I have a European white guy, so I'll one up you
Okay,
there.
even better.
Goran Dragic. is
I
mine.
I actually really like that one.
I like that as well because I do think that is. I think he could be a starting point guard for a team for 7, 8 seasons. Like I think
Mhm.
if you surround him with good players, not to sound cliche, but like you put him on a good team, I think he figures it out. Like I think he is significantly better than like if we do last year, like go back to last year, like a like a Tyler Kolek. I don't have last year's board in front of me here, but those type of point guards where it's like they're okay, they're good players, they can do their job. I think he has more to him than just being a good point guard. Like I think Dragic had more to him. Like I think he can get to the basket. He's bigger. Like I already said, he's better than Jalen Hood-Schifino ever was. Like I think there's some
Ever was.
real upside of him being a really, really good starting point guard. I'm not saying he's ever going to be an all-star, but I think the upside is high enough to where I'm fine with taking him in the lottery. I'm good with taking him in the lottery. I think he has a high enough ceiling. I'm usually good with betting on players upside in the lottery unless it's like
What is Jalen
um
Hood-Schifino?
unless it's Charlotte last year taking
Mm.
Tidon Saloon. But other than that,
To be fair,
like
we were really low on him.
hated Tidon Saloon. Hated him. I'm looking at it right now. He was 24th on my board.
Yeah, I feel like I had him in the second round. Uh,
But
and then
regardless, like my point is, as a point
yeah,
guard, I feel good about him. I think he has a little bit more juice to him than people might give him credit for because he's, this 6'5" white dude that can't really doesn't has 0 dunks in the half court.
right.
So we'll
Hey, but
see.
still finishes at a high clip, so it doesn't really matter. So
Exactly. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the other videos on our channel, and we will talk to y'all later.